Live on YouTube. There we go. Live on YouTube, folks. Live on YouTube. Let me just go live on LinkedIn. And then WhatsApp, and then we will be good to go. Just 1 second, folks. She's an easy lover. She'll get a hold on you, believe it. She's like no other. And that's what I'm trying to make you see. She's an easy lover. Good morning, says Mr. Sumanth Kumar. Good morning, Mr. Kumar. She's got a hold on you, believe it. Well, she's like no other. And what I'm trying to make you see. She's the girl you dream of. But I have to see her. You'll never forget it. Oh, you'll regret it. Done. WhatsApp. Can listen to you singing. Good morning, says Mr. Vaibhav Manocha. Can listen to you singing, says Mr. Sumanth Kumar. Well, that was Phil Collins. She's an easy lover. Easy lover. The song was Easy Lover. My God. My God. Is anybody a Phil Collins fan here? I'm a great Phil Collins fan. Great Phil Collins fan. Anyway, let's begin, folks. I guess you can hear me. Bum bum bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Thinker's Frequency. We're having such a good time. This is the peak of human civilization. We're working so hard, doing such good work for ourselves, our parents, our kids, our siblings, our husbands, our wives, our friends, everybody. Well, not other people's husbands and wives, I hope. And just when we thought things couldn't get any better, like they couldn't possibly get any better, well, they just did. Call it divine intervention, folks, but things just got a whole lot better. Now we have Thinker's Frequency, our daily mental workout, our daily dose of insights and analysis, which don't lead to paralysis right before we punch in. So let's continue with our journey of reading between the lines, things that are especially interesting and important in the world of business and finance. Let's go. Oh, but before we go, we have this beautiful tradition to follow, right? The sweet and sacred tradition of the simultaneous sip. We'll all sip something together and it'll bring us good luck, as it always does, without fail, every day. And all you need for the simultaneous sip is a cup or mug, a glass, a tank, a chalice, a stein, a canteen, jug, a flask, or a vessel of any kind. Pour it with your favorite liquid. I like some hot water with black pepper in it. And here we go. Beautiful. Let's do it again. Sublime. You know what the simultaneous sip says, right? You know what it says? It says that you are not alone. It says that we are in this together, which is such a beautiful thing to say. Great job on the sip, guys. I could feel the synchronicity. It was lovely. Good morning. Who all saw the Nikhil and Elon Musk meeting? Says Mr. Manjunath Madhubal. Yeah, who all saw that? I saw that. Did you see it? Right? It was quite a thing, man. I wrote an unrelated post, but, in a sense related to the whole episode, how the new Indian rich are essentially giving a new way, new meaning to being rich in India. India's rich usually were very clandestine rich, right? Cash hoarding, real estate spending, money laundering, very, very secretive people, right? And then comes this whole generation who's really wanting to do something. And it's not just a generation thing. I mean, Sridhar Vembu sir, Sanjeev Bikhchandani sir, and then Kamath brothers. These people have really, really given a new meaning to the rich, and that is amazing. We should be very thankful. Any good parts that you found from the podcast? So I've been following Mr. Musk very deeply, right? So whenever he does a podcast, I actually listen to it, all his interviews and stuff. So I couldn't find anything new when it came to the interview, unfortunately. But it was still a nice conversation. It was humbling, or it was very interesting to see Mr. Nikhil Kamath in our shoes. So, what do we do when a person like me, when I'm trying to talk to, let's say I get Alok Sama sir on my podcast, or I interview Sanjeev Bikhchandani sir, and so on and so forth. When I'm talking to those people, I'm mindful of the time. I'm trying to be very, careful with my words. I'm just trying to ask a question, and then stepping back and seeing a little bit of pushback, and then, so it's a very delicate thing for me, because I'm an up and coming entrepreneur who's meeting, so to speak, the giants of the industry, right? So it was very interesting to see somebody like Mr. Nikhil Kamath in those shoes. Now he is a multi-billionaire, extremely successful, perhaps the most successful entrepreneur that India has ever seen since economic liberalization in the 91. But he is still essentially a nobody for somebody like Mr. Musk, right? And it felt like that. So that was very interesting. It was very nice. A lot of questions which he wanted to ask, he couldn't, because Mr. Musk just evaded them, right, in one way or the other. So that happened. Something which was very interesting for me was how, after a point, Mr. Musk was just in a mood to shoot the shit, right? He was just laughing around, not really taking questions very seriously. And when that happened, Mr. Kamath was not being able to control the conversation in a way, which was also very interesting. This is what happens, right, when you're meeting somebody whom you consider, a hero, and it's very natural. So that was cool. They had an interesting point about Spinoza's philosophy. So if you watch the interview, they said that you believe. So he said, do you believe we are living in a simulation? And he said, yeah, I mean, simulation is a possibility. And then he gave his usual example where he says, a video game. Consider a video game. Video game began with the whole ping pong, right? It was a rectangle and the ball just bounced off. That was the video game. And then the video game kept evolving, kept evolving. So much so that it's now close to indistinguishable from actual reality. Soon enough, the video game will be absolutely as good as the reality itself, right? If that is the case, if the video game could be so advanced, the person living in the video game would have no idea that it is a video game, right? And you will be essentially god of that universe, right? And if that is true, what is the possibility or probability that the reality you are living in is also a hyper simulated video game? So that is the simulation theory in nutshell. It's also it's nice. And then Mr. Kamath asked, what do you think about Spinoza's philosophy? So Mr. Spinoza was a philosopher who, he was also a theologist in a way, but he laid the ground for something very interesting in the religion space called pantheism. Okay, so Mr. Albert Einstein, he was a very keen admirer and follower of Spinoza's philosophy. So, what he said was that what is pantheism? Pantheism is the religion, or is the thought according to which you everything is God. Okay, the universe itself is God. Everything, this glass, this cup, this newspaper, this laptop, everything, every constituent of the universe and the universe itself is God. Okay, so what do you do? You're like a child who wanders in a very big library. You don't know where this library is coming from. You don't know the ends of the library. All you're looking at is just a few books that you're able to find. And you're opening those books and you learn more about the library itself. So you don't concern yourself with the creator of the library. Okay? The library itself, the universe itself is the God. Prakriti hi Parmeshwar hai, essentially. That is pantheism. And if you look at Hinduism, right? Hinduism also supersedes pantheism in a way, because Hinduism also talks about how everything is worth worshipping. So if you look at, we have, uh, as they call, 36 crore gods, right? That is us essentially appreciating everything around us as something worth worshipping, as something like a god. So the universe is God. That's what he wanted to question, that how important is religion, and so on and so forth. And Mr. Musk gave a slightly off answer to that. Aham Brahmasmi is that concept, says Mr. Manjunath Madhabal. So that's pantheism. I really loved pantheism, the concept of pantheism, when I first read about it years ago, some 10 years ago. That was such a beautiful thing, right? Beautiful. That you, this is it. I mean, universe is God, which is very, very collinear to what we've been studying as Hindus as well, as Mr. Manjunath Madhabal says. So it was a pretty fun interview. I was very happy that Mr. Kamath could actually do something like that, right? Very inspiring for everybody. Broke the internet, of course. Very nice, very nice. Let's move on. There's another good news, folks. It's Woody Allen sir's birthday today, 90th birthday. Woody Allen sir, he is 90 years old. Perhaps one of the greatest, if not the greatest filmmaker of all time. One of the greatest filmmakers of all time for sure. 90 years old, 50 movies. He is actually working on a movie right now, and it's going to be complete in a couple of years. So he'll be 92 when his 51st movie comes out. He often jokes. So the only time he went to the Oscar stage was when he was invited to honor the 9/11 play, right? The New York City, in the wake of 9/11. That's when he went to honor the city. Otherwise, he's never went to Oscars, despite having nominated for 28 of them and winning 3. So he went and he said, at that time he was 67, and he said, I'm 67, which means a third of my life is over. Right? So that's what I think. He's 90 now. That means a half of his life is over. So let's see what he does. No filmmaker essentially can even come close to the body of work of Woody Allen sir. I am of course a huge fan. If you're wanting to watch some good movies, you should definitely give Annie Hall a chance. Annie Hall, Manhattan, Crimes and Misdemeanors, Deconstructing Harry, Mighty Aphrodite. There's so many. Match Point, Vicky Cristina Barcelona, Midnight in Paris. There's so many. I mean, it's just amazing, extraordinary body of work, and everybody should watch. It's good to be a student of Mr. Woody Allen. His current book, the latest book, the first novel that he's published at age 89, is called What's with Bomb. I've had somebody bring it for me from US. I'm going to read it soon. So good movies, great movies. Watch it. Watch them. So 90th birthday. Happy birthday, Woody Allen sir. With that out of the way, let's begin with the whole world happenings, folks. right? Uh, there's a lot happening geopolitically. Bitcoin fell again, $4,000. So it is back to 75 lakh price, 77 at the moment, 1.17 decline in a 5%, 4% decline in 5 days, 20% decline in a month, and 6% decline a 13% decline in 6 months. 1 year it's down by 5%. So Bitcoin down again, right? Very, very weird situation happening with Bitcoin. Gold still up. Let me check the GLD price as well. GLD price is 1.27% up. So gold up, Bitcoin down, stocks fragile. The same situation happening. Of course, geopolitically is the same scene, right? Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu is getting tried for corruption charges and so on and so forth. He's looking some sort of presidential pardon. Very complicated situation when it comes to Israel. The whole geopolitical flux, exactly what it was yesterday. India is trying to cut a deal with US, right? At the same time, RBI is looking at rate cuts. So RBI, there's a 60-40 split for people when it comes to guessing where RBI is gonna cut rates or not. So 60-40, 60% people think RBI is gonna go for a rate cut, and 20% people say that it's gonna be status quo kind of a situation. What do I think? I think, so here's what's happening. Growth is great. Usually when you try to cut rates, you wanna spur growth, right? So growth is already great, 8.2% quarterly, this year 7%, and inflation is very low. So if inflation was okay, they wouldn't have tried to cut rates because the rate was already, but inflation is too low, which means that there has to be some sort of money supply happening to have slightly more inflation in the play. That is an object. So that makes a case for rate cut. However, US and Indian trade deal has still not happened, right? Which means that RBI might like to wait and watch when it comes to evaluating the situation. As such, the economy doesn't need that kind of a boost, right? That kind of quantitative easing. So let's see what happens. I'm on the side of status quo right now. So I'll say that RBI might not be looking at rate cut in this week's monetary policy, monetary policy committee. So let's see what happens. I'd be on the side of the 40% who say it might just be status quo when it comes to RBI, right? So let's see what happens, folks. Speaking of money, do you remember we talked about Mule accounts for laundering money, right? Laundering money happens usually through Jandhan accounts. I told you about it when we were discussing the gaming phenomena, the real money gaming problems, right? So I told you that how these bank accounts are arranged for the illegal betting shops, right? Now what they're trying to do is moving beyond the Jandhan accounts and using current accounts, right? Turning biz accounts. Startups work with bank to monitor unusual fund movement in shell companies and biz accounts for all of these things. So Mule, the concept of Mule, turning up the game. That's what's happening. Rare earth, situation is up. So they are trying to, rare earth magnet, they say this is as big as the fab paradigm shift, as important as fabs. 7,300 crores. Scheme addresses an upstream vulnerability in India's EV and cheap ecosystem. As I've said, India has a 3-year, 4-year window to create some sort of, or let's say, be less vulnerable or create, come out of the dependency, absolute dependency on China for pharmaceutical APIs and then also electronics components. So, rare earth magnet is, of course, the first part of the puzzle. The minerals are the first part, then come the components, and then come the final products. Product is more of an assembly play, so that doesn't matter as much. But the first two parts, they are most important. So once they are sorted out, you can you can rest easy. Moving on, folks. Indian GCCs turning a key testing ground for agentic AI ideas. GCCs are becoming strategic innovation hubs, shaping how global companies deploy autonomous AI. Well, there's no surprise, and this is not even an insight, to be honest, because this is just news making for the sake of news making, right? GCCs, hubs, no more in cost arbitrage. Indian employees doing a lot of research, turning out new ideas. Let's see how it goes. It's just fugazi. But what's essentially very important is the replacement of IT services by GCCs as an industry paradigm, right? So whatever they do right now, this is not news right now, but it'll become news when it starts eating up the outsourcing companies' pie. And it has started that already, but it's going to be very, very big. The ramifications of that are going to be crazy. So let's see what happens there. Moving on, folks. There's a lot of data center action. Google Adani, of course, $15 billion. Amazon, $8 billion. Azure, $3 billion. And so new data laws and AI boom unleash a new wave of data center investments in India. So they're just giving a run view, essentially a 360 view on what's happening. L&T is also trying to get into that business. TCS came out with its $2 billion investment and so on and so forth, right? Reliance is going to be here soon. It's very heavy, data centers. I wish there was a way to make money, folks, on this. In 2025, it's 1.2 gigawatts. In 2032, it's looking at 9 gigawatts. Capex investment, $35 to $50 billion over 7 years. So essentially, at least $7 to $9 billion of investment going in the next 5 to 7 years, which is just crazy, right? Which is crazy. A lot of leasing revenue. So apart from real estate, the obvious real estate play. Real estate is an obvious way of making money. So you can buy some real estate company which is doing a lot of it. But I wish there was a direct way, right? Some undervalued assets somewhere which nobody could understand, a small cap, and then 5 years later, everybody's like, I wish I invested in that. This is that time to find out that small cap as a trader. But since I'm not that trader, right, I haven't really looked at it. But if you find it out, please do tell me, right? This is what we do. Moving on, folks. Mr. Sumanth Kumar has a comment. Why do you think India has not been able to produce a company like Perplexity? Is it solely due to funding and ecosystem challenges? Arvind Srinivasan was able to succeed in the US. It's just very, very... So anything fundamental or foundational, it doesn't happen in the country, right? That's India's curse to bear, essentially, at least right now. Anything foundational, anything, whether it be hardware, whether it be software, whether it be... It's not something that we like to do. So nobody would have funded that project ever, right? No funding, no support. It would have been absolute dead on arrival project. It could still not work. Perplexity as a business could still fail, but at least they tried it because it was AI-based search, a pioneering concept, right? Nobody cares about that in India, unfortunately. If you talk to VCs, and if you pitch them something which doesn't have a working example somewhere else, it's like you asked for their daughter's hand. Being an unemployed guy with a gutka chewing problem, right? And not just daughter's hand. It's like you're asking for Dahej while at it. So they are very. It's just a weird set of conversations, and of course, this is a long shot problem. So foundational projects, they'll still take some time, I guess, for India. But now we are moving forward, right? The whole drone play and so on and so forth. Speaking of drones, folks, there is a news as far as drones are considered. India is actually looking at private companies for making long range kamikaze drones, 900 kilometers plus range, right? uh, NAL to partner with private company for making the long range drones. So indigenously developed 30 HP Wankel engine to power a new class of long range drones. So that is what's happening with the drone play. Finally, some action, some news when it comes to drones. Today is, by the way, when the stock market opens, right after the news has been announced, the first time of Indian defense seeking 20%, a budget expansion. So let's see what happens. Mr. Sumanth Kumar says, "Have you heard of Dronacharya fiasco?" No, I haven't. What happened with the Dronacharya fiasco, Mr. Sumanth Kumar? I haven't read that. Should I read it right now? Should I just search for it as we are talking? Uh, I could do that if you know. Speaking of space tech, since we talked about foundational tech, space tech suits up for sharp commercial push in the next 2 years. Founders say rising demand for space-based data could help sector build its first unicorns and open doors to public listings. So this is the founder of Agnikul Cosmos, who says space tech has a lot of opportunities coming along, right? Indian space tech is not exactly the space tech that you know, right, about when it comes to Starlink and so on and so forth. We are in a slightly different paradigm, but we are still doing some foundational work. Agencies such as InSpace and schemes including 1,000 crore venture capital fund and 211 crore allocation for fund of funds of startups is pretty positive, the move, right? So that's what's happening. No material step yet when it comes to space tech commercialization, but signs are fresh, right? There are new signs. Of course, when it comes to space tech commercialization, the whole SATCOM play will be very, is a logical consequence to that story, right? But let's see how it turns around. Moving on, folks. So there is something very interesting happening when it comes to lawyers make money story. As we've talked about lawyers making money, right? So lawyers making money. There is a case when it comes to two airports, the Mule and Dial, right? Mumbai International Airport Limited, Delhi International, so GMR and Adani. So Delhi Mumbai airports owed 50,000 crore in tariff, top court to hear the challenge on Wednesday. So what happened was that TDSAT is the authority which basically decides, which is Telecom Disputes Settlements and Appellate Tribunal, right? That authority was supposed to decide the value of the airports, valuation of the airports and the charges that they had to incur. Okay. Now, TDSAT had come in a particular year, which was later, and then they rationalized 2003 to 2008 costs later. Okay. Now, the airport said that we've been devalued and we need more money. We should have gotten more money. So first time they went to the court, okay, TDSAT said no. Then they went to the Supreme Court. Then Supreme Court said go back to TDSAT. Then they went to TDSAT again, right? And this time TDSAT said yes, you are owed money. So if this particular money goes along, right? If they get that valuation jump in those particular years in a prorated kind of a fashion, airlines will have to raise the prices because they'll have to give them more money. So the parking tickets, which are right now 200 rupees, might go like 10x. Mumbai airport 300 rupees to 3000 rupees, and so on and so forth. So that's what we are looking at. In 2006, Delhi and Mumbai airports handed to private operators. Okay, Dial goes to GMR, Mile goes to Adani's. First GVK, now Adani. In 2009, ERA formed and starts a 5-year tariff cycle. ERA is Airports Economic Regulatory Authority. So 2006, 2009 ERA forms. Okay. Now, in 2012, ERA calculates 2009 to 14 tariffs using only aeronautical assets. So while calculating the tariffs for these airports, right, they only use the the aeronautical assets, but there's also parking, there's also retail, there's a lot of non-aeronautical play as well, right? And that wasn't counted. So these people say, count that, we need that money, right? And that is the whole thing for. So 2009, 14, and then what happened is in 2012 this happened, and then these people went to court. So legal journey in 2018, TD-SAT Supreme Court upheld ERA's valuation. 2022, airports seek to reopen case. July, TD-SAT reverses earlier order, says non-aeronautical assets must also be counted. And then, this is this more. So how do you like it, folks? What do you think about the whole legal rigmarole? Right? Airlines are saying we will have no option but to pass on these expenses to the customers, and that will make it a little more expensive, quite a lot more expensive for customers. But interesting case, right? Very interesting case. Now the question is, why did ERA not really calculate 2019 to 2014 tariffs? Why did it not include non-aeronautical assets? Why was it so, dumb, right? Because that's what led to the whole fiasco, right? And then when it led to the fiasco, why wasn't it essentially dealt with at an early basis? So it's 2026 right now. The legal journey has been going on since 2018. Instead of a sudden shock, it could have been, right? But this is the exact problem. This is why I say lawyers make money, right? Who makes money? Lawyers make money. And now we're going to pay for it. So that's what's happening. Moving on, folks. Lupin, TPG Cap, and EQT take a shot at Vita Biotech's buyout. So Vita Biotech is a British company started by an Indian entrepreneur, Mr. Lalwani, right? It's a nutraceuticals kind of a play, right? And it is a company which is valued at about £1 billion. Its revenue is around 300 crores. 3,000 crores. So Indian arm of Mayer Vita Biotech makes up for 20% of the total 3,000 crores. So 3,000 crores, and the company is getting valued at £1 billion. That's about 10,000 crores, right? So straight 3.5 kind of a multiple. Lupin is an Indian giant which is looking at buying it out. This particular company was also in the fray for a buyout some time ago, but that deal didn't materialize. So that's what's happening. India's market for vitamins, minerals, and nutraceuticals at 20,000 crores. 20,000 crores. Nutraceuticals market is gonna grow because a lot more people are realizing that it's better to actually have these minerals and vitamins and so on and so forth instead of the actual pharmaceutical intervention, right? So people are slightly getting wary of pharmaceutical interventions as much as possible, yet wanting its effects, which is where this particular industry comes very handy. So that's what's happening. Pharma M&As, a lot of pharma M&As, we've been talking about that, so no surprise there. Let's move on, folks. Vita Biotech, right? Interesting name for a company. You know what's happening in the finance world? Participatory notes, which is basically ODI, right, by FPI. It's going to get a new SOP to share. It's related to the identity of the FPI. So if an FPI has like a 50% plus kind of an exposure and so on and so forth, it'll have to reveal the identity when it comes to the participatory notes, the ODI, and so on and so forth. So that's a new regulation to bring in more transparency when it comes to these particular instruments, this particular instrument, right? It's very necessary. Mask comes off participatory notes to get a transparent look. Foreign investors must enlist with NSDL to buy participatory notes. So secrecy over offshore derivative instruments, ODIs of course, which have been opaque vehicles for faceless foreign investments, will soon be history. This is also related to the whole Adani Hindenburg play, right? Directly or indirectly. So whether an investor is ODI holder can now easily be checked, and extra disclosures obligations will be effective from Jan 16. So more transparency, less rigma. That's nice. Moving on, folks. Indian equity markets are really maturing, right? And Indian money markets in general. That's always a good thing. Mr. Sumanth Kumar, you didn't tell me about Dronacharya fiasco. What is that? Moving on. Prime Minister says we need to transform police perception. He says police has a negative perception, corruption, and so on and so forth. We need to change that. But do you think police has a perception problem? Or is it perception problem is just a symptom of the overall malaise that exists in the police fraternity, right? Is it a recruitment problem? Is it a organizational culture problem? Or is it just a perception problem, right? Because if you talk about perception problem, you're essentially talking about this everything is going fine. When it comes to the fraternity, it's just people's perception that we need to fix, right? Do you get the idea? So my question to you is police a perception problem, or is it some other problem which we're trying to whitewash when it comes to the Indian police? Regardless, we are taking steps. It's a difficult job, of course. Done how well, nobody knows, but yeah, difficult for sure. When it comes to police, by the way, it's not just an Indian thing. When people say that Indian police is very corrupt, it's extremely corrupt. It's just, an absolute disgrace and so on and so forth, which it is, right? It's super corrupt. But it's everywhere the case. Like if you watch a movie called Serpico, so Serpico is a movie based on real life. Al Pacino, great movie, right? And that movie talks about an honest cop, a cop who just wanted to be honest, who didn't want to take bribes from the drug dealers, from all of these people. And that movie talks about how the entire police fraternity, right, targets that guy so much that he actually gets exiled to some corner in Europe and nobody gets to know. So, Serpico, the movie, extraordinary movie, one of the best movies of all time, right? Who directed Serpico? Just let me check. Serpico, director Sidney Lumet. Sidney Lumet was a genius, absolute genius, right? Dog Day Afternoon was also Sidney Lumet, also Al Pacino. So great movie. The police and the perception of it is a global problem. Mr. Sumanth Kumar writes, Dronacharya Aerial Innovations and its promoters involving allegations of fraud, misuse of IPO funds, and inflated financials. Oh, I guess I saw something like this. No, Mr. Kumar, I don't have any clue about it. Certainly not at an analysis level. Moving on, folks. Very deep condolences to whatever is happening in Sri Lanka. Cyclone Datwar, right? It's just heartbreaking whatever is happening, folks. Ditwa, cyclone Ditwa. 300 people are presumably, no more. India is trying to help. India is setting up a call center and evacuation teams and so on and so forth. India is trying its best to help the Sri Lanka deal with cyclone Ditwa. Let's hope it gets crossed soon, right? Cyclone expected to weaken into deep depression. Moving on. Mumbai, by the way, has recorded the best ever reality show. November, first 11 months, crazy numbers, right? If you look at Mumbai's numbers, they're amazing. So real estate numbers, country's financial capital recorded its best November ever with 12,219 property registrations, up 20% a year ago. Activity with stamp duty collections touched 1,000 crores, marking 12% increase. Right? Residential market growing, registrations crossing 1,35,000 units in the first 11 months. The market is operating structurally higher baseline, right? Total contributing, city registered 1,35,000 deals, contributing 12,200 crores to state and setting up a record year. So 12,200 crores to the state. Okay. If you look at the numbers, residential properties continue to anchor demand on 80% of November. Homes above 5 crores, 7%. Homes 2 to 5 crores, 18%. And mid-range homes 1 to 2 crores, 33%. Below 1 crore, 40%. So if you look at the whole Mumbai real estate markets, below 1 crore, 42%, 1 to 2, 33%, okay, 2 to 5, 18%, and then over 5 crores, 7%. That's the mix, right? Seems pretty standard. Seems there's no problem at all, no revelation, but it's interesting. 42% is less than 1 crores. How many people do you think are in the affordability range for Mumbai, right? Even for Mumbai. So if you look at Mumbai's per capita income is what? 4.5 lakh rupees per annum. Let me check Mumbai's per capita income, folks. Mumbai per capita income. I guess it's 6 lakhs. Yeah. Per capita income 6 lakhs. Right? 6 lakhs per capita. And 1 crore homes, less than 1 crore homes, 42%. It's very, very, very difficult, right? And that's, anyway, moving on, folks. Lodha is launching another housing projects, many housing projects, 14,000 crores. Moving on. 42%, 33%, 18%, and then 7%. Crazy. Nuclear power, of course, we've talked about. All eyes on tariffs as bill for opening up nuclear power to be tabled this session. Nuclear power is looking at privatization, right? Tariffs, they are going to be very important. Not the US tariffs, the energy tariffs, what gets set up, right? India's 3-stage nuclear program, fissile material, uranium-235, plutonium-239, uranium-233, right? So 2025 is when this particular play gets opened up. There are strategic concerns, domestic safeguards, right, with the current Department of Atomic Energy, and so on and so forth. Currently, India has a capacity of 8.8 gigawatts of nuclear. Of this, uranium requirement for 2.4 gigawatt is met for domestic sources, while the rest is imported. So that is also a case. 2.4 coming from domestic, and rest is imported when it comes to the uranium play, right? Moving on. There's a lot of action happening in the railways front. Railway is continually making news. So if you watch the railway, follow the railway play, right? Now it's coming out that private companies will be allowed to service non-railway entity wagons. So move can halve the number of wagons lying at depots. Container wagons could be first to see private maintenance. So until now, private maintenance is not permitted when it comes to the wagon maintenance and all. Now it's going to get opened up and creates a new opportunity for the government to, first of all, monetize. We've been talking about it. 3% coming is the revenue that railways generate from the NRE, right? Non railway revenue. 3%, just 3%. But in many ways, it can open up and make more revenues by allowing private companies to tender and so on and so forth, so that they can get involved. The service gets better, the downtime, turnaround time reduces, and railways can get some extra money, because railways are a big drag on the exchequer, unfortunately. Industry has been demanding privatization to cut turnaround time. Roughly 20% of all wagons are said to be at maintenance at any given time. So, right, a lot of downtime. Private involvement can bring this down to 10%. Can also lower maintenance costs. So, container earnings were 9,700 crores in 25 to 26, 10,170 crores. So, this is obviously a welcome move. A very welcome move. Moving on, folks. There's so much that can be done when it comes to railways, right? There's so much that can be done. But the first thing is, why are they so dirty, right? That's not even a very hard question, right? Moving on, folks. Nifty seems to be ready for 26,500 to 26,800. There's a lot of things in its favor. The US trade deal, the Indian growth story, the Indian rate cut story, the US rate cuts, which are going to happen, and so on and so forth. There's a lot happening. Fresh bullish signals emerge for December's derivative trades. So a lot of good happening for the Indian markets. But you know what's the best thing to do? The best thing to do is to prepare for some sort of weird eventuality, right? Which nobody knows where it comes from, but it comes anyway. And Indians realize this. That's why Indians are moving so well, and in such clear, unambiguous terms towards gold, right? So that's what's happening. Moving on, folks. PSBs chase high returns, grow unsecured personal loans in tickets above 10 lakh, microfinance stress falls out, keeps private lenders cautious. So while microfinance and all of that, we've talked about this, it's been a developing story, has kept private companies, private banks in a bit of a jiffy, right? The public sector banks have been chasing returns. So the public sector banks, by the way, have essentially beaten private banks in all ways in the recent pattern, if you look at them. So in all ways, right? So this is no different. Banks' digital drive allowed them to grow personal loans seamlessly. They have meanwhile tightened the underwriting standard so as to prevent any fall off, right? Speaking of falling off, folks, Shapoorji Pallonji Group is trying to raise 25,000 crores via unrated NCDs, non-convertible debentures, right? Shapoorji Pallonji Group is in trouble, of course. 18.67% stake in Tata. They want to monetize it. They want Tata Sons to go public. That's not going to happen. If it went public, it could have been nice. They could have monetized it, and then they could have had an exit strategy. They can't sell that stock like that, right? And their debt is very expensive. So they had taken a particular debt at some 19.36, 19.6%. And that debt is rated well now. So it's getting better. But still, right, pricing talks for issue hover at 14 to 15% lower than group's last raise, which is good news, but not good enough. Moving on. FPIs play more in IPO league. Local mutual funds pick up slack. IPO inflows of $1.3 billion were outweighed by 1.8 in secondary market sales. Speaking of IPO sales, folks, you know where the IPO money goes? So they did a report on how IPO money is spent. About 25% of it just 25% of it went to capex, right? So just 25%. So when you think about companies going public, right, usually it used to be a primary play, right? uh, what I mean by primary play is primary capital getting used for expansion and so on and so on, which led to private capex, which led to more jobs. So when people invest in IPOs, they essentially lead to nation building. But only 25% of the IPO play is going into primary capital. Rest is going into pairing debt. I guess 24% is unaccounted for. That must be going towards secondaries and so on and so forth. So that is something to worry about. Mr. Abhishek Sharma says, is there any type of fund that can help make money due to opportunities from weight loss, railway, rare earth play, etc., etc.? Well, railways, that is a good question, of course. The weight loss thing, we talked about it, right? We need to find out a small cap which essentially supplied to the pharma companies. So the pharma companies will be going into the generic play, which means that their earnings might not grow as well as they should, right? Because it's gonna be a price war now, bottom down to the bottom, right? So while they will grow, of course, and they will grow extraordinarily, the earnings might not be, and a lot of it might just be priced in already. All these people, right? But all we need to do is find out some sort of a syringe maker kind of a guy who's public, like Shelly Engineering. People were talking about Shelly Engineering. Somebody said it. So let me check. Shelly Engineering share, plastics share. What is it doing? 4.5 days up 5%, 1 month up 15%, 30% up in 6 months, 1 year up 100%. So we've been doing this for 6 months and we've been talking about this particular play, and in just 6 months Shelly has done like 40 to 50% of growth, right? So well, that's a prediction coming true. However, we didn't focus on the trade as much as the opportunity overall, so we just focused on the GAN. But yeah, Shelly is just one company, I think. There must be other players as well who must be doing this, and 50% in just 6 months is great, right? It's great money. Doubling the money in a year is awesome. It's absolutely awesome. That's for the weight loss play. You talk about railways. Railways is a slightly complicated play, right? All these RVNL and Titagarh and all of these people, they are bad stocks. So again, I'm not a trader. I won't be able to confirm or deny trading opportunities, but no clue about that. Rare earth play is something that we also need to sort of study. The companies directly or indirectly involved with that. But yeah, Shelly is some company we discussed like 6 months ago, and 100% in a year, right? 50% in just 50 years. That's awesome. Would be interesting to find any such fund which identifies and invests in such type of stocks. So they keep doing this. This is what a lot of people, if you've written this comment, now what you're gonna see on YouTube is, दोस्तों मेरे टेलीग्राम ग्रुप पे आना है आपको, और वो टेलीग्राम ग्रुप आपको बताएगा वो स्टॉक जो जाएगा 10%, सॉरी 10x, और ये सब बातें, So it's just everybody tries and claims to do that, but most of it is not driven by fundamentals. That's the problem. We only talk about fundamentals, right? So unfortunately, since we are not a bunch of traders, I'd love to have a trader do this with me, right? So if we're talking, we could have a trader on Thinkers Frequency who could basically talk about such opportunities like every week or something. So please try acting, says Mr. Sumanth Kumar. No, I do get that ad. दोस्तों टेलीग्राम का ग्रुप है, पहले 15 मिनट में अगर आपने इन्वेस्ट किया तो होगा, 15 मिनट लेट हुए तो लेट हो जाओगे, लॉस बनाओगे, ऐसे दे स्टार्ट टॉकिंग लाइक दैट. आई एम लाइक, भैंस की आंख, आई एम नॉट इवन इनटू ट्रेडिंग. कहाँ से आ रहे हैं मेरे पास ये एड्स? मैं नहीं करता ये सब यार. एनीवे, Moving on, folks. Cement companies see a stronger H2. That's awesome. By the way, Mr. Putin is gonna be coming to India, right? Is he gonna meet me? I don't know. Maybe not. Probably not. But there's a huge business summit that is happening around his meeting in Delhi. So they're trying to, their focus is to raise India Russia trading partnership to $100 billion. Right now it's about 56, $58 billion, something of that sort. So engineering, food, digital services, and pharmaceutical exports, right? That's what's happening. That could be another opportunity, by the way, to invest. Because India and Russian trading partnership, as this whole tariff situation played out with India and America, right? A lot of companies, a lot of countries had to be explored to offset those losses. But sooner or later, those tariffs are going to go down. And when they go down, there's going to be a better market, right? A larger market. First, these unexplored markets which were just opened, and then the old market. So, pharma companies, not the pharma and electronics, because they didn't get tariffed, but everybody else, the agriculture play and so on and so forth, they will have a good time. They will have a good time. Moving on, folks. Music companies bet on shorts format, AI to hit the right note. They're saying that, music discovery, shorts happens, shorts get made, and that becomes a music discovery. Right now, the labels essentially have a lump sum deal going on with the music companies for the shorts. So it's not a revenue generating play, right? They don't get used by ads, but they have a huge inventory, and sooner or later it's gonna warm up. So they're excited about it. They say earlier shorts used to take 10 to 12 days to make. Now with AI, we can just churn them out like anything, right? So that's what's happening with the short business. Saregama now, Gen AI video will take 2 to 3 days, enabling rapid content to refresh. My God, so much of content, so much of noise on the internet, don't you think? So much of noise, so much of shit on the internet, right? And especially the whole swipe up play. Man, how nice it would be. I think it's a superpower for anybody who's not addicted to a smartphone. Are you? We right now have like 8 people on YouTube, and then how many people on LinkedIn? Let me check. We have some 4 people on LinkedIn as well. How many of you don't, or who amongst all of us can claim to have no addiction to smartphone? Is there anybody? Can you claim that you are free from smartphone addiction? You don't watch those shorts? Because those shorts are the problem, right? Now you can't even say that the long videos are a problem, because long videos seem to be distant history. Not me either. Not me either. And they just take away so many hours of the day, right? And that's just unpaid labor, man. They take the creativity away, they take so much of it away. They just waste time, and it's unpaid labor. They take time away from good things. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Moving on, folks. China factory activity contracts for the 8th month in November. So China's PMI is 49.2. It's 49 earlier. So PMI is rising, but still the industry is contracting. As we know, PMI, we know how to read PMI, right? Above 50 means the industry is expanding. Manufacturing is expanding. Below 50 means it's contracting. China is still contracting, but it's contracting at a slower pace. Or let's say it's expanding while it's contracting. So from 49, 48.6, 48.7 and so on. Now that the tariffs have gone down, it's going to be even better for China, right? So let's see what happens there. Very interesting. Crazy shit happening geopolitically and politically. MTV, end of an era. MTV is going to end. I even wrote an article about it. My songs come on MTV. God damn it. I'm like 20 years late to the party, right? 20 years late. I mean, earlier, actually, your songs, if they came on TV, that used to be huge. That was the dream. That was the defining dream for a musician. That, hey man, my songs are on TV. Right? Nobody gives a shit about TV anymore when I came on it. With that, we come to the end of the 182nd episode of Thinker's Frequency, folks. Our daily mental workout, our daily dose of insights and analysis, which don't lead to paralysis, right before we punch in. I hope you had fun. I hope this added value to you. Definitely added a lot of value to me. I got to know a lot of new things which I didn't know until today. And the same goes for you, right? Because I know it and now you know it, which is so beautiful. It's 9:23, so we should punch in. I wish you a beautiful day personally and professionally. I'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time, hopefully. I should thank Mr. Sumanth Kumar, Mr. Vaibhav Manocha, Mr. Abhishek Sharma, Mr. Manjunath Madhubal, uh, some crypto spammer, and everybody else who joined. It's, yeah, man. I mean, why did I not invest in Shelly? We had that cornered, right? We were so clear on that. Why did we not invest in it? God damn it. Anyway, uh, could you share the link for your MTV song? Oh yeah, sure. So there are two songs. One is Jaza and one is Bhul Jao. Let me share the link. So there's Jaza and there's Bhul Jao, and then there's also Akelapan Par Saath Bhi Zaruri. But let me share these. Jaza. There I shared Jaza. There's Bhul Jao as well. Bhul Jao was the first one. No, Jaza was the first one. Then Bhul Jao came. So these two songs. But anyway, take care, folks. See you. Bye bye.